Egypt has a very unique geographic location. It's in the northeast of Africa. It's bordering the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. It's the link between Africa and Asia through the Sinai Peninsula and the Suez Canal, which is the part of Egypt. But it also goes deep into Africa and towards the Sudan and to the south. And in the Arab world, it's the center, it's the heart of the Arab world between what we call the Arab Mashriq and the Arab Maghrib, that's to say the Arab East and the Arab West. In addition, it had historically been in linkage with Europe for common cultural and civilizational traits. The capital of Egypt is Cairo, and main cities include Alexandria on the Mediterranean beach, Luxor and Aswan in the south, Mahalla and Banha and Tanta in the Delta region, and Ismailia and Port Said and Suez on the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. And the population of Egypt in 2007 was 76 million people. Relations between Egypt and Japan date back to 1862, when a samurai mission through the Edo dynasty, in the late period of the Edo dynasty, passed by Egypt and spent 1 week en route to Europe. This mission was supposed to study modernization experience that took place in Egypt between 1805 and 1848. After the formal independence of Egypt in 1922, both countries exchanged recognition. And after that, there were consulates, one Egyptian consulate in Kobe and one Japanese consulate in Alexandria.
Alexandria, I see.
And after the revolution in 1952 in Egypt, we started exchanging diplomatic relations, and embassies were started.
52.
And embassies were opened both in Tokyo and in Cairo. And since then, relations have been continuously flourishing. We have cooperation between Egypt and Japan in all fields: political, cultural, economic, touristic, scientific, technological. The latest example of this took place last March, when we had the signing of the agreement establishing the Egyptian-Japanese University of Science and Technology that will start operation this September. Very close to Alexandria. Very close to Alexandria. It will be open to Egyptian students, Arab students, African students, because it's the first Japanese university outside Japan.
I see.
So it will be a center of excellence in the region as well. I'll talk now very briefly about the Egyptian economy. The Egyptian economy managed to make a constant rate of growth of over 7% in the period between 2004 to 2008. And this made it the largest non-oil economy in the region.
I see.
Egypt have continuously been undertaking economic reform, financial reform, liberalization and privatization over the past years. And according to the latest World Bank report, Egypt has been ranked the top reformer in the region and in the world.
Oh, in the world?
In the world, yes. In terms of the easiness of doing business. I should say that, in fact, Egypt is a member of a number of free trade groupings in the region and worldwide. We are a member of COMESA, which is the common market for East and South Africa. We are a member of the Arab Free Trade Area. We have a partnership agreement with the European Union. We have a quiz agreement with the United States, Qualified Industrialized Zone Agreement with the United States. We also have a free trade agreement with Turkey and with EFTA countries in Europe. And we are currently negotiating a free trade agreement with Russia. And we are members of the Group of 15 of developing countries and, and the D8 of Islamic countries, which is again a free trade area among major Islamic countries. Egypt, of course, has been the hotbed of human civilization. We have evidence of 7,500 years old civilization. And this is what is proven so far. It started with the Pharaonic civilization. Then we moved Pharaonic civilization.
Okay.
Then after that, there was a period of what we call Greco-Roman civilization. We received the Greco-Roman, but we molded it with our own specificities.
Yeah, right.
And then we have our own Coptic civilization, which is Eastern Christian civilization. And then since the 7th century, we have been a part of the Arab Islamic civilization. Each of these civilizations left its own imprint on the culture, on the traditions, on the social habits and customs, on the architecture, on the arts, and on the daily life of the Egyptians. Suffice to say that Egypt is the host of 1/3 of world monuments. World human heritage. 1/3 of them is. I should also say here that Egypt is considered the cultural and artistic center of its region, of the Arab world. Egypt is called the Hollywood of the East.
Hollywood of the East.
Because in Egypt we produce every year movies that are 10 times more than all other Arab countries produce per year. So all Egyptian movies you can see in any Arab capital or city.
So nice.
I should say here that Egypt and Japan has exchanged culturally very extensively. Since I arrived here as ambassador 20 months ago, there have been participation by Egypt in 4 film festivals.
4 times, I see.
4 times. And then we had 4 folkloric dancing groups coming from Egypt and touring Japanese cities. And then we had 2 Egyptian painters to which we organized exhibitions in Tokyo and Kyoto.
I see.
And we have several Egyptian media and cultural figures that lectured in Tokyo and Kyoto as well.
I see.
And last month, actually in April, I started something called the Egyptian Ambassador Monthly Forum. We organize every month an event at the embassy, which showed interaction between arts and cultures of both Egypt and Japan. In 2007, we had received more than 10 million tourists from all over the world. And
10 million?
10 million. And out of them, there were 130,000 Japanese tourists. In 2008, the last few months of 2008, there was decline in the number of tourists because of the financial global crisis. And there was decline also in number of Japanese tourists, a slight decline.
I see.
But we are working very hard as an embassy with the Gaimosho and with the Ministry of Land and Transportation, with JATA and the Japanese Tourism Agency, in order to increase again the number of Japanese tourists to Egypt. And I should say that in February last year, February 2008, we had a visit to Japan by the Minister of Tourism of Egypt, because Egypt was the guest of honor in Sapporo Snow Festival in Hokkaido. And also at the end of this visit, we started negotiation, Egypt and Japan, until we reach agreement on declaring this year, 2009, as the year of tourism promotion of Egypt. We are trying to do 2 things now in our strategy for tourism promotion of Egypt in Japan. First is diversification of tourist destinations. Not only to have cultural tourism to the monuments and so, but also to have tourism for golfers, because in Egypt we have 23 international golf courses.
23?
23, some of them looking the Nile, some of them looking the Red Sea, some of them looking the pyramids. Also we have, in addition to that, scuba diving tourism.
Scuba diving.
And we get actually hundreds of thousands, particularly from Europe, every year, scuba diving in the Red Sea, where it's a very unique place for you who have been there, or you who have maybe watched some documentaries about it. The other tourist destination is what we call a desert safari. And this is flourishing very much in Egypt. In the Western Desert, we have now something called the White Desert and the Black Desert, which are very flourishing for tourism. The second pillar of our tourist promotion strategy is to diversify the groups we are approaching in Japanese society. Traditionally, we had only elder part of the population. Now we are, in addition to the elder groups, we are targeting young Japanese students, university students, or young people, also honeymooners, and what's called office ladies.
Office ladies.
Here, you know, this year started on the 29th of January.
29th
We had-
January.
Yes. We had the big launching event at the Imperial Hotel that was honored by the President of Her Imperial Highness, Princess Takamado. And then in March, we brought from Egypt the editor-in-chief of Al-Ahram daily newspaper, which is the largest newspaper in the Arab world. And he had a huge promotion gathering for Egypt among Japanese press and media, attended by almost 120 Japanese press and media representatives. Finally, I would like to welcome you all and see you all at all these events, and I would like to invite you to visit Egypt to see by yourself and to yourself the richness of the culture and the society in Egypt. And domo arigatou gozaimasu.